benefit to living in Mexico as an expat is generally the excellent level of medical care and relatively low cost of prescriptions. This is one of the key reasons more and more Americans, Canadians, and retirees from other countries are choosing Mexico as a place to live. However, unlike routine doctor visits and prescriptions, major medical emergencies can cost thousands of dollars. So it's very wise to think ahead and to be prepared. Today, Melanie Lansing is joining us, and she's going to help us understand the insurance options available to us. Melody has been a health insurance advisor for the past 8 years. Her firm, Mexico Insurance Advisor, represents over 16 of the best health and travel insurance companies in the market. Melanie is passionate about assisting expats with understanding how healthcare and insurance works in Mexico. Melanie, thank you for joining us today, and please help us understand the insurance in Mexico.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome everybody to our presentation today. I'm just going to turn the screen on. Can you all see the screen? Yes.
Yes.
And you can hear me clearly, Ron?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Welcome everybody, and thank you again for joining this presentation, those of you that are in San Miguel and joining us virtually as well. I have been as stated, I've been a health insurance agent now for the past 8 years. And my passion really is or lies in educating expats as a multiculturalist, educating expats, on the different cultural aspects of healthcare and what we can expect from living in Mexico in terms of the differences from our home country. And my firm, Mexico Insurance Advisors, is dedicated not only to selling health and travel insurance packages and plans, but we also do public seminars. Many of you have attended, I'm sure, the Peace of Mind seminars at La Casona and the Biblioteca on how to be prepared for a medical emergency. What makes us different from the rest is that we are completely bilingual and bicultural. We're, again, committed to educating our customers on how things work and what the differences are between the two health systems. And we, throughout the process, after selling you a plan, will assist our clients in medical emergencies and offer advice and support along the way. Throughout the years, we've also kept a registry of all of the doctor specialists and hospitals and clinics, not only in San Miguel, but throughout Mexico as well. And we share that information with our customers. So today, we're going to be reviewing the following interesting topics, hopefully interesting to you. A little bit on the facts and myths regarding healthcare in Mexico, private health care costs, what you can expect for major medical emergencies. Some of you have had them, others of you have not. What are pre-existing conditions and how they may affect your health insurance plan? What the requirements are for signing up for a private health insurance plan. And then I'll delve into some of the public health insurance options, the two programs available to temporary and permanent residents of Mexico. And then I'll touch on Medicare in Mexico, what you need to know, what to expect, and what steps to take in terms of ensuring coverage. Finally, we'll review some of the options for getting back to the US or Canada for those of you who still have or maintain coverage in home country. So as stated in the article, one of the things I face on routine basis is, medical services in Mexico are cheaper. And as stated, yes, doctor visits are affordable. In San Miguel these days, doctors will charge anywhere between 600 and 1,200 pesos. Those rates go up as you get into bigger cities and more specific doctor specialty. Hospitalization costs, on the other hand, are and do become more expensive, especially for expats. And another issue is, well, hospital services work the same. When we come to Mexico, we often find ourselves thinking unconsciously that services in Mexico are going to work the same as they do in our home countries. And such really is not the case. Hospitals in Mexico, private hospitals again, require an upfront deposit for all services. They don't have any billing services in place. So what that means is you can't pay later. You will be expected to pay with cash or credit or debit card. Sometimes you'll be able to make a payment directly to the hospital's bank account. And the hospitals will, when you're inpatient, will bill you on a daily basis. Doctors speak English. For the most part in San Miguel, we have a handful of very qualified bilingual physicians. But when you get into a hospital setting, even at the best private hospitals, you'll find that the hospital staff and nurses speak Spanish. And there are differentiated prices for walk-ins versus insurance customers versus Mexicans and expats. That's just kind of the way things work. And there aren't really caps on billable services. In that same regard, hospitals don't disclose their rates. The only time we know about the rates is when, a hospitalization event, inpatient event occurs. Often customers come to me and say, why would I need a long-term health insurance plan if I'm healthy and I can get back to the border? I have a marketplace plan in the United States, and I just throw me in the back of the car and take me to the border. Well, unfortunately, even healthy individuals have medical emergencies. And we all know that tripping and falling on the cobblestone streets in San Miguel can cause injuries that result in hospitalization that costs thousands of dollars. And in Mexico, like in any other country, if you have a major medical emergency, the hospital drivers and EMTs are required to take you to the nearest hospital. So, you won't be able to get on the ambulance and say, take me to Celaya if your hospital of choice is in Celaya and you're in a medical emergency. And on that same note, if you're unconscious and there's nobody there at the scene to tell the ambulance driver to take you to the private hospital, you will automatically be taken to the general hospital, which is the public hospital in San Miguel. The other thing is, my doctor will take care of me. Well, it's important for all of us to have a conversation with our doctor about, hospital rights. Not all doctors in San Miguel are credentialed at local hospitals. Thankfully, now we have several options of hospitals and clinics. We have Unimed, we have Dr. Gordillo's The Clinic, which is right next door to La Jolla Hospital, the new hospital in town, as well as Hospital MAC, which is the level 3 specialty hospital in town. And there are several bilingual general practitioners. Those types of doctors don't have hospital privileges. And often the hospitals have their own system set up, and you wouldn't know this unless you've had a hospital event. Whereas when you go in a medical emergency, they will assign you to whatever doctor is on staff or on their list for that particular day. So, and again, going back to the importance of having a primary care physician and establishing a relationship and contact in terms of, can you take over for me if I'm involved in a medical emergency, and which hospital should I go to? These are all very important things. And finally, private doctors are not allowed to enter public hospitals unless they're on staff at the public hospital. And in terms of health insurance in Mexico, I want to explain a difference that's really important. In the United States and in Canada, we're used to buying insurance online and just perhaps enlisting the support of a broker or an agent to help find the right plan. But once we do, that relationship really isn't much use to us. In Mexico, the health insurance companies actually encourage people to have an agent because there are so many instances in which additional support is needed. And part of our role as health insurance agents is actually to help patients navigate the medical system, assist them with their claims payments, as well as their pre-authorizations for services. And so this is something that our firm prides itself in, and that is helping our customers at all hours of the night in medical emergencies and getting claims processed and paid. So what is private full cover health insurance? Well, first of all, it's considered continuous medical coverage with guaranteed lifetime renewability. And what that means is once you become a member, once you've signed the contract and paid for your policy, you will be a member for life unless you stop paying your annual premium. So the insurance company will cover you regardless of whether down the line you get a terminal illness or you're requiring thousands and thousands of dollars in medical care and treatment. Their contract with you is for life. Now, in terms of types of insurance, we have Mexican plans. Those are plans that are offered by Mexican health insurance companies that are overseen by the Mexican Health Insurance Commission. And these are companies that have an employee staff that speaks Spanish. All of their customer support and service is in Spanish, as well as the policy documents. Then we have international health plans, and those companies are primarily located outside of Mexico, in the United States, Canada, as well as Europe. And then we have international health insurers that offer expat plans, and expat plans are tailored specifically for the needs of individuals like yourselves. Next, we have coverage areas. Coverage is the area in which you will be protected by your health plan. There are Mexico-only plans. There are worldwide, including the United States and Canada, and worldwide excluding the United States. Now, most often people say to me, I want a Mexico-only plan, thinking, Mexico-only coverage is going to be more affordable. That isn't necessarily the case. And the reason is because there are other factors that contribute to price. And what we do always is offer our clients the most affordable plans, regardless of coverage area, unless the client specifically asks for instance, a plan that includes the United States and Canada. The benefits for the full cover plans include everything from hospitalization to medication to rehabilitation, outpatient, inpatient surgery, cancer treatment, etc. And another question that comes up quite frequently is, Melanie, I want catastrophic coverage. Well, catastrophic, again, going back to the affordability issue, means, a plan that's only going to cover me when I need to go to the hospital. And the way you make your plan catastrophic is actually by increasing your annual deductible. So regardless of the plan, you can make the plan more affordable by increasing your deductible. So as stated, we represent 16 different companies at this point, and we are continuously reaching out to new companies and adding more plans to our portfolio. Rates, by the way, are based on age and sex, and they also increase from year to year. Increases are actually based on the conglomerate claim ratios for all of the members, as well as medical inflation. It's not based on your medical history. So if you're someone who has had in the past 10 years cancer, or you're currently taking, you're pre-diabetic, those types of conditions are not going to affect your rates. And there are, in some instances, age limits for enrollment. The most affordable plans are those that you sign up for before you turn 75. However, there are plans that do not have any age limit. So just let us know what you're looking for, and we'll see how we can best fit your needs. Age limits, I want to make a point, does not impact your renewability. So if you sign up when you're 74 and then you turn 75 the next year, you're not going to be kicked off because now you're 75. Age limits only apply for the age at enrollment. So some of the application requirements for private health insurance include living in Mexico. You have to reside at least 6 months out of the year in Mexico. And you could live anywhere else in the world for the rest of the 6 months, and the 6 months in Mexico does not have to be consecutive. Some health insurance companies do require proof of residency, and that would be, a copy of your permanent or temporary Mexican visa. When you first apply for health insurance, it's very important to provide all of your surgery reports, medical reports, lab tests, etc. The more records you can provide, the better the potential offer. And those individuals who are 65 or older, companies will require a form to be filled out by your attending physician, as well as copies of recent lab and diagnostic test results. This is a requirement, again, for people that are 65 or older. And also those who have chronic medical conditions, there are also medical questionnaires for your doctor to fill out. And companies do maintain a list of medical conditions for which they consider an uninsurable risk, which means those individuals who have had, for example, or have Parkinson's disease, ALS, these types of chronic, often terminal illnesses may not be accepted by the insurance company. What are pre-existing conditions? Well, these are any medications that you are currently taking, past or present, any surgeries you've had, even if it's been for a broken bone, and any medical treatment as well. These are all things that are considered pre-existing and that the insurance companies require to be reported to them. Policy limitations may apply, and these are some of the most typical policy limitations that can apply to pre-existing conditions. A permanent exclusion, which means the condition would not be covered. There may also be a waiting period before coverage begins. So they may say, we won't cover you for the first year, 2 or 3 years, but after that time we will. They also may say, we're going to apply a lifetime deductible in addition to the annual deductible for this specific condition. They also may say, this is the total US dollar amount that you have for this particular medical condition. Or finally, they may say, if you're paying $2,000 a year for the insurance, we're going to tack on another 10 or 15%. And with that 10 or 15% surcharge, we'll cover it for you. So what are the costs of health insurance? These are some examples of current annual rates with a $5,000 US deductible per year. And by deductible per year, it means that all medical services, whether it's medications, surgeries, medical treatment, doctor's visits, all events are applied to the same deductible. And these, again, are the most affordable rates currently. If your age is not on the screen, you can always contact me for rates, as well as health benefits, and to discuss your particular medical history and how pre-existings would work in your particular case. So now I'd like to get into the public health insurance options, and these are public health programs offered through the Mexican government. The first is INSABI, or the National Institute of Health for Well-Being. This organization provides medical services to those Mexicans or individuals who are not covered by IMSS or ISSSTE. INSABI was established under the current administration in 2020 and replaced the old Seguro Popular. INSABI plan does not cover all medications or advanced medical treatment or surgeries. It is a limited plan or program. It offers basic health coverage to unsalaried workers, farm workers, informal sector workers, as well as foreign residents of Mexico, temporary, again, and permanent resident visa holders. And for those of you who want to take note, there is a list of the 66 level 3 advanced medical treatments on the INSABI website. And my firm, my organization doesn't assist individuals with signing up for INSABI, but there are several consultants in San Miguel who do. I would just recommend consulting with the civil list to find out who those individuals may be and what their fees are. Lastly, about INSABI, they do take into consideration socioeconomic status, and so it may or may not be free. IMSS, or IMSS as it's known in Spanish, was created for salaried workers in the private sector. And over time, membership was opened up on a voluntary basis to non-salaried workers, as well as foreign residents with temporary or permanent visa. Again, this is the Mexican Institute for Social Security. It is financed equally by employees, employers, and the federal government. There are certain pre-existing and chronic conditions that are not, individuals with those conditions cannot sign up for IMSS. And there are annual premiums for membership with IMSS. And there are also waiting periods for specific medical services that apply. Lastly, there is no IMSS or IMSS hospital in San Miguel. IMSS hospitals are located primarily in the larger cities. However, IMSS has a contractual agreement with INSABI, and therefore IMSS members can get emergency medical care as well as care at the local clinic in San Miguel. So that's important to know. So although the hospitals, the IMSS hospitals are in Celaya, the closest ones in our state of Guanajuato, you can get care locally if you're an IMSS member. Some important things to consider in terms of the public health options. Like in the picture on the screen, the hospital has an open environment. There are group rooms and shared bathrooms. Their blood donations are required for surgeries. Their equipment is not always working or available. There are strict visiting hours, and you can also expect that if you're hospitalized at the general hospital here in San Miguel and you're needing more advanced treatment from a level 3 hospital, which would be in Celaya, that you would need to wait for those decisions to be made from the hospital there, as well as bed availability and surgical procedure availability as well. Again, no private doctors can enter a public hospital unless they're on the payroll, on staff. And there is, getting in line and waiting for services. Currently, about 85% or more of the population in San Miguel are signed up with IMSS or INSABI, primarily INSABI in San Miguel. And so we just have the clinic and the general hospital. So there are waiting times for services. You can expect that. And you do need to bring your own towels and toiletries if you're hospitalized there. Some key facts to consider is that Mexicans, when given the choice, they will always choose private health care over public health. And currently, under the AMLO administration, there is scarcity of resources, which means not all medical supplies are available, as well as medications. And I wanted to put this example up on the screen. It's an example I've used in previous seminars to kind of give you an idea of how the public health system works. Dory was a beloved member of the San Miguel community several years back, and she had an upper leg fracture, and she needed to go out and create a GoFundMe page because not all of the costs were being covered by the Seguro Popular at that time. So you can expect that there can and will be additional costs for certain types of medical procedures, as well as prosthetics and heart valves and other types of medical implements. So moving on to your current coverage, many of you may currently have Medicare, or some of you may still be signed up with your Canadian provincial plan. If that's your case, my recommendation is that you become very familiar with your coverage. It's not the same to ask somebody, does this cover me, as it is to actually request a copy of your schedule of benefits, your health plan benefits, and go through the document and search for overseas and to see and learn exactly what your coverage is. I can tell you that Medicare is not going to cover you in Mexico. And I'm talking about original Medicare. Medicare supplement plans offer 80% emergency coverage only during the first 60 days of entry. And that amount is up to $50,000 lifetime, and there is a $250 copay. So what that means is if you have a medical emergency, if you're a supplement plan member and you have a medical emergency on day 61, you can expect not to be covered. And some good news is that if you are a state or federal, U.S. State or federal retiree, you may have 100% overseas coverage through your Medicare plan. So important, again, to read over that coverage. And as I stated, Canadian provincial plans may provide some out-of-country coverage for those who maintain their residency. And in regards to travel insurance plans, they don't always cover medical emergencies related to pre-existing conditions. So if you have if you're taking heart medication and person unfortunately has a heart attack, they may not cover the heart attack, or they would cover very small amounts, again, related to pre-existing conditions. And before I go on, I wanted to provide some information on costs of major hospitalizations. These are costs that some members have shared with me, and they are all within the last year. So you can kind of get an idea of what to expect in terms of major events. I had a client who had a simple wrist fracture. The total hospital bill was $8,000 US. I had another individual who had COVID, who was not in the ICU, and the cost was $10,000 a day. Another individual who had rotator cuff surgery, which cost $8,000, and finally knee surgery, $15,000. Now, the rates that you may have to compare may be less, maybe more. As you know, in Mexico, rates are always negotiable. Okay. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about air evacuation plans. I know that many of you who still have Canadian residency, and those of you who are turning 65 or have turned 65 say, well, I'm just going to get back to Canada or to the US where I have my health plan. And that's a really good idea, but there are some things that you need to take into consideration. First of all, in order for the plans to work, you have to be under the care of an attending physician. And if it is a medical emergency situation, emergency hospitalization, for example, you must be in stable condition to be transported via air ambulance. It's the attending physician who approves the air transport. So not only do you have to be in stable condition, but your doctor has to sign off and say, yes, I'm going to allow Jim to board the air ambulance. The air ambulance doesn't just pull up and wait for you to be loaded onto the plane. There are some protocols and requirements to be met. And along that same note, the air evacuation companies, unlike health insurance, they do not have a list of medical conditions that are covered. So what that means is that it's always going to be up to the discretion of the attending physician or the emergency doctor to approve, and also for the company, the final decision to come from the company and say yes or no. So in that regard, there's no guarantee that any particular medical emergency will be eligible for air transport. And the most important thing is, regardless of whether you're approved or not, you're always going to have a hospital bill to pay. So again, in my mind anyway, the best way you can protect yourself is by having health insurance. And with health insurance, you know what is going to be covered and what is not. And finally, and one good thing about these types of plans, and that is if you have a non-emergency diagnosis, for example, I've had a couple of clients over the years that have had cancer and wanted to go back to the United States to get their treatment there. The air evacuation plans will pay for commercial air flights back to the United States and Canada in this type of non-medical emergency type medical treatment. So I wanted to end by saying, health insurance is important for protecting your dream and your retirement savings. We know when we face our health insurance bill each year that we're paying that amount as a means to not have to delve into thousands of dollars that we have saved over many years of our working lives. And it protects our dream too of being able to continuously live and work. Those of you who work, you work on a volunteer basis, but you're working in Mexico. And lastly, my one real big point of advice is be ready, make a plan. If you haven't visited the local hospitals, make a plan to do so. They do allow for tours of the facilities, and you can set up an appointment to go become familiar with the hospital and know exactly what you're going to do if faced with a medical emergency. And if you're wanting additional information on health insurance, feel free to contact me. My information is on the screen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll
Melanie,
take
we do-
if there's any questions.
Melanie, we have an important question here. Gary Peterson has a question for you.
Sure.
I have a personal example that I don't want anybody else to fall in this trap. Paperwork. You basically have to have an accountant with you when you go through all your medical treatment. You have to have facturas for everything, or it's not acceptable. Every doctor you visit, you have to have a letter from the doctor signed for the specific reason that you were treated. My wife had insurance, $5,000 deductible. We had $7,000 in receipts. None of them were accepted. We received zero. They didn't know what her condition was, so every doctor that treated trying to figure out what she had, that is considered a separate event, $5,000 deductible for each one of those.
Wow.
So you better keep track of the paperwork and understand that it's critical to get paid. You think you have insurance, but if you can't prove with that paperwork, you get zero. How do you avoid this?
That's an excellent question, and I really I appreciate your candor. Yes, I'm really sorry that you weren't our client and we weren't able to help you. But one of the biggest challenges is just that health insurance companies require documentation. And when you're in Canada and the United States, all of this paperwork happens behind the scenes. And so we're not used to being involved in gathering medical documents and paperwork. But when you're working with an agent or an agency that is committed to helping the member or the client, then you shouldn't have to be faced with these types of obstacles. I have had over the years several people want for me to represent them because of the extra support that our firm provides to members. When all of the responsibility is placed on the member, it can be overwhelming, and I'm sorry that you had to go through this experience.
Okay. We're running on overtime, but we'll take one more question from anybody here in the room, or I have that puzzled look from Fred. It's like, you need a watch. I got a watch, buddy. I got a watch. Anybody online? No?
I'm a visitor. Hi, hello. Hi, I'm Colleen Rideout, and I'm new in San Miguel, and I'm a visitor today to this webinar, and I love your Rotary Club. Thank you so much for letting me join. I'm not a visiting Rotarian, I'm just a visitor, but maybe a new Rotarian. I have a question, Melanie, because I work for Mutual in the US, Mutual, and that doesn't have anything important to do with insurance other than the fact that I'm fairly familiar with Medicare, Medicaid, because that's part of what I do. And you mentioned on one of the slides that regular Medicare does not cover us in Mexico. But it's my understanding that there's a Medicare Advantage plan that might or may be more advantageous to American citizens living in Mexico. Can you expand on that at all?
Sure, and thank you for your question. Medicare Advantage plans are offered by different states and zip codes. So we can't, unlike supplement plans or Medigap plans, we can't generalize about Medicare Advantage. I have heard from some customers who live in Florida that they've been able to secure a Medicare Advantage plan with some overseas benefits. But I have not seen these plans or reviewed these plans. So the most important thing is, again, going back to what I've said previously, it is the need to review and read the documents in order to understand. And so in general, we're not supposed to tell Medicare that we live in Mexico. Whether you have a Medicare Advantage or a Medicare Supplement plan, Medicare Supplement and Advantage plans are for individuals that reside in the United States. And so I can understand that there may be some overseas coverage for certain travel periods, but full overseas coverage, the only thing I've seen have been those plans that are for federal and state retirees. Although I have heard that there are some new plans on the market, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly the names of those plans, but I recall that the customer was from Florida. So it would mean, residing or providing a Florida zip code when applying for that particular plan.
As a follow-up,
We're gonna have.
Can
to
I
wrap
ask
this there. Folks, we really are totally out of time. And if you have any questions, please get a hold of Melanie. You saw her email address, contact her directly. There it is, Melanie at MexicoInsuranceAdvisors.com. Melanie, we really appreciate you being here, and as a token of our appreciation and in commemoration of World Polio Day, which is coming up on October the 24th, we are presenting this certificate of appreciation to you for your presentation, your wonderful and informative presentation to our club today. A donation of 10 polio immunizations will be made in your honor to the End Polio Now campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. This meeting is adjourned.